Hello, can you hear me? Eric, can you confirm that I'm good to go? I couldn't hear any of that. I think you were, I think
Oh, I
somebody
may
was
have been muted. Sorry. I will welcome everyone again.
I
Thank you
tried
so
texting you.
much. We'll cut out that, take two. Um, I'm Eric Thut, Executive Director of Netroots Nation. Thank you all for coming. Josh is going to talk to us today about why we're thinking about Facebook ads all wrong. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the Q&A. I'll keep monitoring that, but Josh will answer them at the end, and use the chat to chat among yourselves. And with that, Josh, get us started.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I was going like this trying to get your attention. I was like, I'm pretty sure you're muted or there's a problem on my end. So, but good. I see people are still rolling in, so I'm fine to give a couple more seconds. Eric mentioned this, so I will definitely leave time for Q&A, and feel free to ask your questions in the chat. And Eric has been authorized to interrupt me for clarifiers, and then anything else we'll come back to at the end for sure. Super excited to talk about a topic that I spend a ton of my life talking and thinking about, which is Facebook ads. I'm going to go ahead and share my deck. One second. Okay, so we are thinking about Facebook ads wrong. That is the premise of today's session. So let's dig in. So first of all, who am I? My name is Josh Clemens. Been doing this a long time. I've supported hundreds of campaigns and managed millions of dollars in digital ad spend. I helped this guy almost win a Senate seat in Nebraska last cycle. I have helped a bunch of groundbreaking candidates smash glass ceilings. And I have helped break or prevent 3 supermajorities in just the last couple of years. So, and I've done all of that. Facebook ads has been a huge component of all of those campaigns. And here are some things that I've learned throughout my time doing this work. So first of all, quick caveat, I got to share, like, do I love this guy? Hell no, I do not love this guy. We live in his world. Meta is not a company that is part of our movement. I understand that. I have a lot of ethical issues with the fact that I spend so much time in a platform run by somebody who is not in line with our values. But at the end of the day, our voters, our people, our donors, like, they are hanging out on his platforms. So this is where I'm spending a lot of my time. So I feel remiss not to give that caveat before diving in. I laid out a whole lot of my philosophy here in a blog post that you can find at joshclemens.com/paid ads for down ballot campaigns. So feel free to go to that, bookmark it for later. But essentially, my 3 big takeaways from that blog post that we're outlining today: it's never too early. You should be testing tons of content, and you are not the hero of the story. Your audience is. I like to tell candidates I work with, you're not a superhero. You're a voice for the people. It's not yes, I can. It's yes, we can. We should be using we language whenever we can. We should be focusing on the how and the why, not just the campaign's role in it. And we should be talking about their shared vision for the future. I like to break content for campaigns especially, but this applies as well to organizations, into 2 big buckets. We've got stories content and values content. Stories content is about the candidate. So it's endorsements, it's photos and videos from the field, promoting yard signs, asking for money, volunteers, things that are specifically relevant to the campaign. Values content is news updates, issues relevant to your community, relevant holidays, community events. An easy way to tell them apart, stories versus values: stories content is exciting for you and your current supporters. Values content should speak to someone who's never heard of you. If the vast majority of your ad budget is going into stories content on Meta, you have a problem, because you're only talking to people that already care about you. And at the end of the day, nobody cares about you. They only care about themselves. So what we need to do is find a way to make your ad program relevant to them. And that's where values content comes in. And I will reiterate, this is not just for candidates. I've used comparable playbooks for many organizations and seen great results. Okay, so let's talk about targeting. There once was a time where we could target extremely liberal, extremely conservative, fans of AOC, fans of John Oliver. We could exclude folks. There was all kinds of things that we could do. Those days are gone. If you haven't run Facebook ads in a couple of years, you will be amazed at how little you can do today when it comes to targeting compared to 6 years ago or 4 years ago or even last year. I mean, literally every cycle, it gets harder and harder. Some targeting remains. We'll talk a little bit about some targeting that we do, but not a lot. So you should strategize accordingly. The thing about targeting now, Facebook has said this many times, the creative has become the targeting. So if you're messaging, if you're trying to speak to the LGBTQ community, You should be using language that speaks directly to that community, using images and content that speaks directly to that community. Facebook understands what you're talking about. Facebook knows who you want to talk to. They're just no longer willing to let you tell them who you want to talk to. So it's not that you can't talk to the specific communities. It's that you can't target them through Facebook directly. There's still third-party data, which I'm happy to answer questions about after, but that's not in here because we're sticking just to Meta specifically. But essentially, if you want to talk to folks, use language that's going to speak to them. Give Meta the tools they need to find those folks, because you can no longer target just liberals or very liberals or AOC fans or even fans of the New York Times. Last year, a year ago at this time, I was still excluding fans of Ted Nugent and Kid Rock and the NRA, big game hunting, as a way to exclude Republicans. Can't exclude anymore. I mean, it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder, but it also keeps getting smarter. And so we just have to kind of live with that. And it's painful for me, somebody who's been doing this a long time, who knows what I used to be able to do compared to what I can do today, but it is what it is. Like, this is the platform we have. Now, I know a lot of campaigns, I work with a lot of campaigns who only want to target the voter file. And I highly recommend against that for one very simple reason. I have found over the years, and this is a very rough estimate, the voter file match rate might be about 40%. You put 10,000 people into the list, you pull a voter file of 10,000 people, you upload that into a custom audience in Facebook. Facebook might recognize 3 to 4 to 5,000 of those folks. So 30 to 50%. 40% is kind of a broad metric. So if you only want to target 40% of the voter file, you can do that, but you're going to lose because that's over half of the voter base you're not talking to. So while it might sound painful and like it might not make sense, I am a big fan and highly recommend you target the entire district, but also target the voter file. So it's not one or the other, it's both. So what I typically do is I start with a 50-50 budget split, with half of my money going to the voter file and half of my money going to broad targeting. And then I adjust accordingly based on reach. And I'm just showing this graphic. This is a candidate and I work together to drop pins to outline his district, because you can't just target state assembly districts in Facebook. Like, it is what it is. So let's say they have $1,000 budget for the first month. I will do a $500 spend just on the voter file and $500 on broad targeting. And then based on my reach rate, so how many folks in the voter file are actually hitting it, will determine whether or not I move the budget in which direction. So by the end of the campaign, I might only be putting 20% into the voter file and the rest going broad. Again, I know like a lot of folks are very uncomfortable with that, so I'm kind of stressing this hard. But if I didn't do that, then I'm only targeting a small subset of potential voters. Forget about the fact you can't bring in new voters if you're not targeting everybody. You're not even talking to potential voters because you're not finding them because Facebook has a different email address for them or whatnot. When it comes to targeting, you can still get a little bit creative, just not like you could 2 years ago or 4 years ago or 8 years ago. So you can target by gender, you can target just parents, you could target just hunters. I do a lot of work in rural communities, and sometimes you do want to talk to the hunters and make sure they know your position on things. I do a ton of work just targeting ranchers, farmers, and ag folks. I tend to work with a lot of campaigns that represent like large rural areas, and it's important for folks to know like what their stance is on these issues. And so I will often build a campaign just for farmers and ranchers and ag folks. Can also target by neighborhood. I'll tell you some stories on that. I'll tell you a story on that in a bit. So I regularly, if a candidate is knocking doors, which they should be, of course, I like to get ahead of them and start running ads wide in those neighborhoods, because by the time they get to the door, I want people to already know their name. I don't want that door to be the first time that person has ever heard of the candidate. So I will often target neighborhoods or even broader, but make sure that that targeting is happening before doors are happening. I was working with a candidate in a rural area, and there was a small town in her very large district that lost their only ambulance due to budget cuts. And she made a video talking about it, and we dropped it right in that city. And that video performed extremely well with money behind it, because we were able to talk to a very small community about something that was very relevant specifically to them. Something else that I like to do a lot, I like to drop a pin into an opponent's neighborhood, literally on their house or in their community they live. And this is not to attack them with ads. It's rather to soften support and try to give positive messaging about the candidate I'm working with. And I've done that in primaries and in generals. We know that like an elected official in a neighborhood probably has strong support in a couple mile radius around their house. If we can take 10 to 15% of those voters away from them with positive messaging, that could be the difference in an election. So I really like really thinking about where are our soft spots and where are the spots that we want to get better at, and target ads accordingly. So there's a lot to unpack with Facebook ads, and it's hard to know sometimes where to start. And this is not a 101, obviously, but hopefully no matter what level you're at, like you're kind of following like where I'm at. But the biggest takeaway is we need to talk to people where they are in ways that resonate with them. Like that is the big takeaway. You cannot run TV. You can run TV ads on Meta, but people don't want to watch ads on Meta. I have run tons of TV ads on Meta. Of course, if a candidate has a TV ad, we're of course going to put it in there. But if that's all you're doing, what you're asking for is people to tune you out, just like they're tuning out skippable ads on Hulu or on YouTube. Like people don't want to watch ads. So the more your content on Meta looks like an ad, the easier it is for people to just scroll right by. Meta is the only platform where we're competing directly with people's friends and family. So the more we can create content that looks like content created by their friends and family, the better. Here's a candidate like just posting photos on the doors. Here's another one meeting a baby. Here's another candidate who I'm going to talk about in a minute, who is like a local farmer who like regularly gets involved in the community. And we were able to show content from him that looks native to the platform. We ran TV ads for this guy, of course, but we also showed content in the feeds that looked like other people's content. So if you run Facebook ads at all and you're like, wait a minute, are we talking about boosted posts here? The answer is yes and no. So when you go to create a Facebook ad, you have three options. That third one, I don't use it, the Creative Hub Mockup. I've never used it, but you essentially have two options. You can create an ad, which is where you create a dark ad from scratch. You upload the TV ad or the graphic or the photo, and you create content. Or you use an existing post. When you use an existing post, you take content that's already out in the world, that's on your feed, and you put money behind it. But it's important to note, while I am quote unquote boosting posts, I am never hitting boost posts in Facebook or Instagram, nor should you. If you ever have, you should stop. 100% of your ads should be run through the ads manager. They should all be done with proper targeting, and they should all be part of an A/B tested campaign that's testing against lots of other content that's constantly updating. There needs to be, every time somebody logs on to Facebook or Instagram, I want them to see a new post from one of my candidates. I want them to literally feel like they know my candidate personally, because every time they open up Facebook or Instagram, there's not the same piece of content, but a new piece of content in their feed. Ads are not magic, no question about it. They will not save bad content. If you drop a post and it gets crickets, if you've got like a halfway decent following and you put out a post and it gets crickets, it's easy to be like, oh, let's put some money behind it. That is the wrong answer. The right answer is to wait for the good posts, let them fly a little bit, and then put money behind them. Because if they're doing well for free, they will do organically, they will do phenomenally with paid money behind them. And that is, so you always need to be creating new content. Like essentially my entire strategy for Facebook ads is organic first. We need to create a ton of really good organic content that then we can put money behind to make sure that folks are constantly seeing new, high quality, interesting, engaging content from the candidate or the organization. So on TV, you might run one ad, right? Like literally, if you're a small down ballot campaign, you might not run any ads, but like at best, you might do one. On Meta, you should be running dozens of ads throughout a campaign, minimum. Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016 ran 66,000 ads throughout the election. This asshole ran over 5 million. Now, they did it in the grossest, most disgusting way possible. They sought to divide and conquer, and they used racist and sexist and awful language and testing back when you could do that. It's much harder to do now. But they understood the platform in a way that we did not. Hillary Clinton's team ran a phenomenal digital program, and Donald Trump ran a program that reached every single person exactly where they were in exactly the moment that they needed to see him. They tested over 5 million ads throughout the cycle. So if you've ever run an ad campaign for a candidate, I don't care how big or how small the budget is, you should have a decent sized budget behind it. So I ran a city council candidate. He was the only non-incumbent running in a 3-way race, and we won. We had 24 ads in the final weeks. I think the other two, like one of them had like one ad and the other had 0. We had 24 ads over the course of the last couple of weeks of the campaign, and they were all A/B testing against each other. So we were constantly figuring out what was working, adding more to the mix. For those who say, yeah, but this doesn't work with small budgets, I worked with a school board candidate who flipped a seat in a conservative district. She had an ad buy of $500, and throughout the campaign, we ran over 30 pieces of creative. Because it's not about the budget, it's about the content, right? You need more content to figure out what's working, and then you can lean into that. So even though we only had $500, I kept adding new things into the mix consistently to make sure that folks were seeing the best possible content that we could create per Meta's, algorithm. I worked a state assembly race. He ran 140 different ads in a 4-way primary. His 3 primary opponents combined ran 40 ads, and he won just shy of 50% of the vote. I'm not guaranteeing that this works for you, but I have found that the person who runs the most Facebook ads and knocks the most doors in a winnable race often wins the race. And then one last story on sort of like scale. So I worked a state assembly race about a guy I'll mention. We ran 135 different pieces of creative over the course of about 9 months. And our opponent ran 7 different ads like in Meta. Losing that race cost Republicans their gerrymandered maps in Wisconsin. Literally, that one race was the reason why we no longer have a gerrymander in Wisconsin. And the Republican candidate only ran 7 ads on Meta. Does that mean Republicans didn't spend? Of course not. Republicans spent a ton of money in that race. They threw all kinds of garbage at that race, but they waited till October. We had been live since April. From April till October, we were putting positive, nice, uplifting content into people's feeds. And then come October, they suddenly start seeing these posts, all this content about how he's terrible. But by then, Steve was an old friend. People knew he was a grandpa. They knew he was a farmer, and they knew he was an alpaca dad. They tried to make him a scary radical communist, but what he really was reelected. And literally, that was the most important race in the Wisconsin Assembly in 2022. And Republicans only ran 7 ads, and then they waited till October. Learn from their mistakes, start early, test lots of content. I love that example because Steve is such a normal person, and they tried to make him out to be this scary person, which can work if you haven't already defined yourself. If you wait until October to go broad, by then you're competing directly with the opponents who are trying to make you sound terrible. But if you've been up since April, or better yet, for the last 3 years, because you just keep your program going all the time, like candidates should, you don't have to redefine yourself. And yes, that doesn't mean attack ads don't work. And that doesn't mean you're going to win every time. But you're able to keep yourself, you're able to define yourself before they're able to define you. And that's what it's all about. Mere exposure effect is a psychology component that essentially says people tend to develop a preference for things simply because they're familiar with them. So I use the example that in his district, McDonald's, Starbucks, and Steve Doyle were literally household names by the end of that campaign, because every time somebody logged onto a Meta product, they saw his dang face. And we were running ads outside Meta too. We had people asking us if we would stop running ads. They were tired of seeing our content. And my answer is always the same. Of course, we'll stop the day after we win, which we did. The mere exposure effect is not going to win a blue seat in an extremely red district. There's no magic here. This isn't a magic trick. But at the end of the day, if people are deciding between 2 candidates and one of them has consistently been in their feed, adding high quality, friendly, nice content that makes them feel heard, and the other person shows up 3 weeks before election day saying, hey, I need your vote and here's why, and making it about themselves, who do you think is going to win that race, right? Again, if all else is equal, who's going to win? And I have found, before, I think it'd be easy to be well, this works in cities. No, urban, rural, whatever. So I mentioned earlier about that candidate who had won that 4-way race. He was in, at the time, a gerrymandered district that was stretched from the suburbs of Madison way out into some rural districts. And he was an elected official in his community. So they knew him well in his community. But out in that rural area, they didn't know him at all. And so we ran a ton of Facebook ads. And I actually tell this story in that blog post I mentioned earlier, if you want to check it out. We ran a ton of ads. And I'm telling you, literally, people were opening doors in communities he'd never been, and not just saying, I know you, they were saying, I'm already voting for you. He was texting me numerous times per month to say that people were telling him they were already voting for him. And the only way that people knew him was from Facebook ads. My first big political race, I was the digital director on a governor's campaign, and we ran millions of dollars in TV ads. And I asked our campaign manager if TV ads really win elections. This was way back in the day. And his response was, they do not. What they do is get people to open the doors when your field team knocks. And I have found that I can replicate that success that we spent millions of dollars on with a few $1,000s on Facebook. You can get the exact same results where people are, it doesn't mean you won their vote, but it does mean that they'll open the door and talk to you when you show up at the door. And this guy was proof of that, because he was knocking doors in communities he'd never been and meeting current voters, people that were already supporters. Something else important to think about when you think about Facebook ads is that they can help you learn. You're not just learning what works on Facebook, you're learning what resonates with your community. For just a few dollars a day, like you could set up an ad campaign today, tomorrow, whatever, $5, put a couple different ads around different messaging around it and see what resonates. Lit TV ads, stump speeches, you can literally base your messaging around what resonates. Now, I am not saying change who you are. I am saying figure out which parts of who you are resonating with other people. Like, it's not about changing your position. It's about figuring out which positions people actually care about. I'm currently running a lead ad campaign for a candidate right now. And we're testing 4 completely different topics to see which one people care about more. Do they care more about healthcare or, education? They're all important issues. We believe in all of them. It's not like we're deciding whether or not we should be, pro something or anti something. We're simply deciding which of those messages is the most powerful one for us to lean into as we move forward. And you can do that for literally dollars a day. And go hire your pollsters, go, run your tests. But a Facebook ad for $10 a day for a week can tell you more than you can imagine if you do it correctly. So let's talk about what that means when I say do it correctly, because budget placement is extremely important. There are many reasons to never hit boost post on a Facebook post or an Instagram ad. And one of them is that you are creating a flat pyramid. So when you create Facebook ads, I like to define them, to think of them as a pyramid. So at the tip of the pyramid, you have the campaign, and then you have your ad sets, and then at the bottom, you have your ads. So at your campaign, that's where you're determining objective. What is your goal with this ad? At the ad set, that's where you're determining audience. Who do you want to see your ad? And then at the ad level, you're determining creative. What does your ad say? Like, what's the picture? What's the image? What's the medium? What's the language? You can set your budget at the campaign level or at the ad set level. And this is extremely important because it's a huge difference. If you set let's say you have a campaign where your objective is lead gen. So you're trying to collect people for your email address or email list or persuasion. It really doesn't matter. And you have $20 a day you want to spend, and you say, okay, I'm going to run $10 a day targeting men with this message and $10 a day targeting women with this message. Why would you do that? I don't know, but you could. So with ad set, if you place your audience, your budget at the ad set level, you can say, I want to spend $10 a day for men and $10 a day for women. And then everything underneath the ad set, all those ads are A/B testing with each other. But if you set your campaign budget at the top using that advantage campaign budget, so if you turn that on, now everything in the pyramid is A/B testing against everything else in the pyramid. So you're no longer telling Facebook you must spend $10 a day on men and $10 a day on women. You're now saying spend $20 and get me the best results you can. And it might be that men only get 30 cents a day and women get the rest of it. Great, as long as your objectives are being met. It's important to understand what you're doing and why you're doing it before you set this up. But once you understand that, you can think very differently. Within the ad set, what are you A/B testing? Within the campaign, what are you A/B testing? So again, when I say that, if I was running those 4 different ads on different, public education versus, medical, Medicare, if they were each their own campaign, it would be a lot harder to know what was working. But by running them all in a single campaign, I'm able to see, okay, Facebook has the same resources, and they are telling me that this message is resonating better than this one. It is very important you understand your objectives when you run Facebook ads, and that's what you determine at the campaign level, because on Facebook ads, you can only optimize for a single objective. Now, that's confusing to a lot of folks because a lot of times people think, well, I want people to like my post, watch my video, click my link, give me money, and volunteer. That's all great, but they're not going to do any of those things. They might do one of those things. And the thing about Facebook ads is all the ads look the same for the most part to us. Like if you see it in your feed, almost every ad looks the same for the most part. The difference is how Facebook treats your ad. They are more likely to show an ad based on brand awareness to somebody who might do that than someone who might click a link. So the different options for creative, you can do brand awareness ads, which are like digital billboards. They are extremely inexpensive. You will get very little engagement on them, in my experience, but the goal is to get people to raise name ID. So it's really good for persuasion, and it can be good for turnout. It can be really good for persuasion. It's a really good way to get people to know who you are. Again, that mere exposure effect. You're just trying to raise your name ID for as little money as possible. You were telling Facebook your only goal is that people stop scrolling, see your ad, and move on. You're not asking them to click a link. You're not asking them to like your page. You're literally just saying, know my name. A traffic ad sends people to your website or to an ActBlue page or wherever, to a New York Times article, whatever you want. A lead generation ad collects people's contact info right in Facebook. Conversion ads, which used to be amazing and now are much harder to do post Apple iOS 14, are if you want to do a specific objective offsite. So I used to run conversion ads directly to ActBlue, and we used to raise tons of money in ActBlue. As soon as iOS 14 came out, it got much, much harder to do that. The conversions just don't work as well. You can still raise money on Facebook ads, but it's not the same as it was a couple years back before iOS 14. Video views, what it sounds like. If you want people to watch your TV ad, run a video view ad campaign. I also sometimes will just do brand awareness for that. They can sort of work comparably, although it's a great thing to test for your candidates or your campaigns. Engagement is if you want people to like, comment, share. It's worth noting with an engagement, you can do post engagement, which is like, comment, and share. You can do page likes, which you should never do because the majority of people who like your page will never see your content anyway. So just spend that money reaching them. And then event responses. If you're trying to get people to say they're interested or coming to your event, that's how you would do it. Super important, probably obvious, maybe not. Social media is people. It can't be a one-way street. It has to be a conversation. If your campaign is running a statewide race, you should stay out of the comments. Like unless you have a really good strategy, like Bernie Sanders, Zoran Mondani, they have made like phenomenal strategies of dealing with engagement, but most statewide races don't have the resources and you don't want to get bogged down like arguing in the comments. But if you're a down ballot race, you should absolutely be responding to questions and comments. Picture yourself on the doors. If somebody asked you a question, would you answer it or would you walk away? They're going to think of you the same way when you respond to them on Facebook. Somebody asks a question and you ignore it, they're going to know. Just like if you walked up to their door and turned around in the middle of a conversation. That said, of course, don't feed the trolls. Like, don't waste your time there. You can hide comments. Like, that's up to you. You can make those decisions. Don't feed the trolls, but not every negative comment is a troll. And lots of comments are opportunities for you to win over voters. This is just a real quick aside. I mentioned that you should not run page like campaigns because they're a waste of money. That said, anytime somebody likes one of your posts, for those who didn't know this, if you click that button where it says how many people liked it, you will then have an option to invite folks who have not already liked your page. And there is a decent conversion rate on that, I have found, but your results may vary. I will caveat, you should not invite anybody who used that emoji unless you shared something funny. Those are usually trolls. So I would typically not invite the folks who did the haha emoji, but all the others, you should just invite them through. And it's a great job for somebody who's, got some free time on a campaign if that ever happens. Some analytic terms y'all should know. Results, that is how many people did the thing you wanted them to do. So for a brand awareness campaign, which I run tons of, the brand, like a result is how many times did somebody stop scrolling and look at my ad for 2 seconds. That is literally seen as a victory. If you're running a traffic ad, it's how many times did somebody click the ad. If you're running a lead gen campaign, it's how many times did somebody give me their contact info. CPR is cost per result. Reach is the unique number of people who saw your ad. So every single person counts as one, and each person is one in the reach. But impressions is the total number of times your ad was seen. And that is an important distinction because it is very possible, and this is where you can get very easily thrown off if you're only doing the voter file. You upload a voter file of, let's say, 20,000 people, and you're tracking it closely, and you see that your impressions are like 50,000. You're like, this is phenomenal. Everybody's seeing my ads. The problem is your reach might only be 3,000, which means, yes, 3,000 of your 20,000 saw your ads 20 times. They're probably annoyed by you, and you missed out on 17,000 of those people. So reach and impressions, you cannot separate those in meta. You have to look at them together. And frequency is literally just impressions divided by reach. So if 2 people see your ad and 1 person sees it 3 times, your frequency is 1.5. Very basic metric. You can do it with a calculator, but you can also see it right in Facebook analytics. But it is an important number to know because you want a frequency above 1. In fact, I would argue you want a frequency in like 7 to 15 range, but not over the course of 2 or 3 days, and certainly not over the course of one piece of creative. You want each piece of creative to have a relatively low frequency, but the entire campaign to have a very high frequency. And that's why it's so important to be building these things correctly, because there's no way to really track that if each ad is its own campaign ad set an ad. So meaning that you built flat pyramids for everybody, there's no way to really know who's seeing what in a healthy way. Engagement, anytime somebody likes, comments, shares, watches a video, like clicks a link, all of that counts as engagement. CPC is cost per click. CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. I broke down all of those and a whole lot more digital marketing terms and acronyms you should know if you care about this stuff at that blog post. You can check that out. I'll give you a second to write that down. You'll also be able to get the deck later, and I will also send this all out to anybody who wants. So digital marketing terms and acronyms. In analytics, your default is called performance, and it's going to show you results, reach, impressions, cost per result, amount spent, frequency, some other things like that. But you can also switch to engagement, and then you can see how many people are post reactions, post comments, shares, link clicks, things like that. You can look at video engagement. So you can literally see how long did somebody watch a video for. If you share a minute-long video and it's like, dang, I got 30,000 views on this, but you look and you see that 99% of them were only 3 seconds and almost nobody watched it to 50%, that tells you you need to do a better job with video. Either make them shorter, make the intro punchier, like whatever it is, I don't know. Like, and I always like to say, analytics don't give you answers, they give you good questions. Why didn't people watch this video? Let's figure it out. Let's do it better the next time. Keep learning. You can also customize your column. So anytime I'm on a campaign where I'm like really running ads for them, as opposed to like a quick one-off, I'll go in and build a quick custom column. You'll see there at the top, it's called JK reporting. And that's so that every time I go in, I can go right to see the metrics that I care about for the campaign for reporting purposes. This is an important one. You should know that you can see your ad spend and results, like you can see your analytics by time frame. So in the top right, there's an option to switch the time frame. So you can see maximum today, yesterday, last month, this month. You can also do custom. So you can see from like 3 days ago to yesterday. This is an important one. I wrote an entire blog post outlining political Facebook ads not spending, if you go to that. Essentially, one of the many reasons people reach out to me in panic, they're like, I spent $300 on ads, but now it says I have spent nothing. And it's like, oh, well, it's the first of the month and you're set to this month. So you just need to look at maximum or just look at last month. They're essentially not showing you everything. They're only showing you this month. Like sometimes it defaults to this month. And if it's the first or the second of the month, it might look like you only spent $7 when in reality, you've spent $507. And you want to make sure you know about that. There are plenty of other reasons your Facebook political ads might not be spending. That blog post outlines some of them. At the end of the day, like this is a glitchy platform, and we all do the best we can every day. Some best practices. Test numerous ads and ad sets. Like the more you test, the more you will learn. Keep your posts limited to a single call to action. And that goes in line with like, you can only optimize for one thing. If you're going to have any calls to action, which honestly, a lot of my ads don't have a call to action. They're about just raising awareness. But if you're going to have a call to action, you get one. Keep your audiences clean and concise. This isn't super relevant if you're doing broad targeting. But if you are trying to talk to a small community that just lost their ambulance, like make sure you're talking directly to that community about something that's directly relevant to them. Hence, match your creative to your audience. I highly recommend having good naming conventions for audiences and ads. Your ads manager will get real overwhelming real fast if you don't know what you're looking at. The most painful thing people tell me is I meant to only spend $10 a day and I accidentally spent $300 because it was on lifetime instead of daily or vice versa. Monitor. You never want to be in a position where your ads are not doing well and you didn't realize it for a month, because that is money you will never get back. The thing about Facebook ads, for those who haven't run a lot of them, you should know, when you buy a TV ad or a newspaper ad or a billboard, if they say it's $1,000, you're paying that $1,000 whether or not it works. That's not true with Facebook ads. You can say, I want to spend $1,000 this month and turn that ad off 1 hour later. Like you can literally be like, nope, I am not happy with these results, shut it down. And then all you've spent is whatever you've already spent, not what you committed to spend. So that $1,000 is not spent, that $10 is spent. And you do not want to waste $1,000 because you weren't paying attention and realize, oh my gosh, we're spending $55 per lead, like in a lead gen ad. That is terrible. Like that is a painful thing to hear. Monitor your ads. If you're running ads, monitor them. And also, especially if you haven't spent a lot in ads, start small and watch your budget. I've never messed up the daily versus lifetime, and I've been doing this for years, but I am super careful about it. I can't tell you how many people have hired me or, come to me after they had messed that up. And it's so painful every time. They meant to spend $500 in a month. They spent it in a day. They can't get that money back. It's just a brutal feeling. So start small, watch your budget. I mentioned earlier, start early. There's no such thing as too early. Like literally, I'm running ads right now for candidates who aren't up for re-election for a year. Like literally, I am a huge advocate that, and we're not spending a lot, we're spending a couple dollars a day, but I literally have a candidate who is running in an election 10 months from now. And we started his ad program this month because I want him to be a household name. Like I want everybody to know the work he's doing and like pay attention to him. Video is great. It can do really well in ads. Do not be afraid of low quality short videos filmed on your phone. Like that's what your friends and family are posting. So it's okay for candidates to post them too, or campaigns or organizations. Photos often outperform graphics, but A/B test, you would be amazed how often like a halfway decent or even not that good iPhone photo outperforms a beautiful graphic, because Facebook's for friends and family, and people don't want to see magazine ads. They want to see their friends and family. There's just like a psychology to it that people scroll past. I'm not telling you that's true. I'm telling you it can be true. I've seen it go both ways, but I test constantly. Reminder to share articles and value-based content, because your audience does not want to see you in their feed. They want to see themselves. I cannot stress enough. Your audience does not care about you. They care about themselves. Create content that makes them see themselves in your content. Talk about things that matter to them, not that matter to you. Focus on values content. Still do the stories content. Of course, you got to share those endorsements. You got to share those like, I met a cute dog on the doors. But if you're not sharing values content, you're essentially trying to make yourself a superhero, and you should be a voice of the people. I will go back to, this is a blog post that I wrote that you should check out. I dig into a lot of this stuff in there in further detail. And again, happy to send these links to anybody who needs. Some resources for y'all to check out. About a year ago, I did a series of free digital trainings. I did completely free trainings. Social media for politicos, Facebook ads for politicos, which is a little bit more of a 101 than this session, which is a little bit more high level, like strategy and conceptual stuff, and email for politicos. It's free to attend. You do have to sign up to get in, but that's only because I'm gatekeeping it to keep out Republicans and conservatives. Like any progressive or Democrat is welcome to check it out. And you don't have to be a candidate or a staffer. You just have to be interested in the movement. So you can go check those out at bit.ly/free digital trainings. Some more resources you should know about. GPA help. You should if you ever run Facebook ads, you should bookmark this. Political ads. GPA is government and public affairs. It is customer service for folks working in politics. It is terrible, and it is the best that Facebook offers when it comes to customer service. So it is trash, but you're not going to get better customer service anyplace else. GPA help has saved me on numerous occasions. It's also failed me many times. So like, it is what it is. But you better believe I have that one bookmarked, and I go to it regularly. I put together a landing page, no email needed, just go check it out, called Tools for Campaigns, where I just share a whole bunch of resources that campaigns might want to check out. So head to Tools for Campaigns on my site. I mentioned that blog post earlier about why your political ads aren't spending. That's what paid ads for down ballot campaigns. And then, sorry. Click the button twice instead of once. And then the last thing is the Facebook ads library. I just want to go back to it so you see the link. If you go to facebook.com/ads/library. So starting in 2018, Facebook started keeping all political ads for 7 years. So they're actually just now starting to delete those first ads that got launched back in the day. Every political ad that had a political disclaimer for the last 7 years lives on for 7 years in the ads library, and you can go see it. And when you go there, you can search by keyword, you can search by advertiser, and then you can literally see every single ad that they have run. This is a phenomenal way to keep track on your opponents, and it's a phenomenal way to get inspired by what other people are doing. I really, really, really wanted to shame some campaigns during this session, because I have seen some terrible, terrible practices, but like, I don't want to be that guy. But my goodness, I have gone and looked at some campaigns where they spent $10,000 with one piece of creative, where every single ad they were running on a statewide race was a story ad just about themselves. Like the worst things that I could imagine when it comes to like running a Facebook ad smartly. And it pains me every time. Not going to call them out by name because we're all friends here, but like, I see it all the time. I go in there and it's just painful for me. So don't be those people. Be the person that like is running like a ton of content, starting early and centering your audience. Within the ads library, let's just be honest. Joe Biden's team, this was from 2021, at that time had spent over $100 million in Facebook ads. They know more about Facebook ads than any of us. Let's learn from them. And you can go see their creative. You can see who they're targeting. You can see how much they've spent. You can see where they were shown. There is a ton of data in the ads library. You should absolutely be taking of it. It is a great way to monitor your opponents. I do that all the time. What are my opponents doing right now? And also a great way to just get inspired. Like, what are folks doing? What's working right now? If anybody would like to join my mailing list, I hardly ever email on that list, and there's no spam ever, but feel free to sign up at joshclemens.com/prez. I have 2 podcasts. The first is called Hello Merge Tag, where social media and politics intersect. I'm now posting all videos on YouTube. They're also wherever you stream podcasts, and you can find links to everything at hellomergetag.com. I've had some really cool conversations. I just recently checked in with like the head of Courier News Social, and I've spoken Dan Pfeiffer and organizer memes, some really cool conversations about where politics and social intersect. My other podcast is called Step Up Your Social. It's all episodes are short, 10 minutes or less, and they provide quick, actionable tips to take your digital marketing to the next level. All episodes are at stepupyoursocial.com or wherever you stream podcasts. And then I have a second newsletter because I am a glutton for content. I just love content. And this is a completely separate newsletter. I do not share between. So if you sign up for my presentation newsletter, you have to sign up for this one separately. Every 2 weeks, I share 2 free digital tools in your inbox. That's it. And you can learn more and subscribe at freetools.digital. You can find links for all of that stuff and a whole bunch of other stuff that I didn't even mention on this because I just love content and I'm constantly putting content and resources out into the world. You can find all that at joshclemens.com/content. I am super active on a whole bunch of platforms, so connect with me on any of these spots. I will also mention for folks who are going to be at Netroots in person, I am doing a session called Free Digital Tools You Should Be Using but Probably Aren't. And I'd love to see you there. And hopefully this was helpful. And now I will happily take your questions. I'm going to stop sharing. Alana, oh, cool. Alana asked if they can be. I am definitely a fan of using other people's content to run ads behind, especially if you have like a takeaway. Generally speaking, Facebook ads Facebook does not like links. So the more links you have, the harder it is to perform. So if you're going to do that as a strategy, absolutely. You also can create a graphic with a takeaway that then like puts the link in the comment or something like that and share it. I have found like some news, for some reason, like I couldn't run ads to the Washington Post. Like it was super random. They were like, you can't run ads here, but generally speaking, is that you can do that for folks. And yes, I do that all the time. Like if there's a really good story about an issue we want to talk about, but the most important thing is assume that almost nobody's going to click on it. So I actually wouldn't run that personally. I wouldn't run that as a traffic ad. I would run that as a brand awareness or engagement ad. And I would take the takeaway right in the comment. And then sure, there's the link. Like we're not plagiarizing, we're not stealing, and we're giving people the place to go. But the goal is not to get the click because most people aren't going to click. And a click will cost a lot more than like a brand awareness reach. So instead, focus on the takeaway and make sure people are getting like the takeaway right there in the post. Because the more we can keep people where they are, the better your ads are going to perform. The more we're forcing people to someplace else, the harder it is, the more expensive it gets. And John asked a question on sort of a comparable question, but a little different. It seems like the cheapest way is to get reach is engagement ads. That's actually not my experience. It can be true, but I have found that reach ads, like brand awareness ads, essentially, will get far bigger reach. So if your goal is reach, you should focus on brand awareness. If your goal is engagement, likes, comments, shares, and making it look like there's movement on your page, engagement, that's it. Test them both. Like run $10 on both and see what happens. And you can literally take the exact same post, create 2 different, it'll have to be 2 campaigns because I said you have to pick the campaign at the at the campaign level. But I've done this. I've run ads as engagement and been like, you know what? These numbers are not good. Switched it over and done it as a reach campaign and been like, cool, this is what we were looking for. We just want eyeballs. So it's really a question of like your why. Why are you doing it? But if your only goal is reach, focus on brand awareness, you can get a lot more eyeballs that way in my experience. Sean, who I love, I've noticed gotten a lot harder to get a hold of. No, they're terrible. Like I said, so Sean is a rock star in the digital space. So shout out to Sean. GPA help, like I said, they suck, but they're the best we get. Like unless you have a personal contact at Facebook, there is no support. I have found over the years, GPA help is hit or miss, but I have definitely, like GPA help has saved me at times. They've also failed me miserably at times. And that's kind of the best I got is like, there's not something better. Like I have some contacts that are in my inbox that will occasionally respond to emails if it's something big, but they like really don't want to deal with little stuff. So like my personal account got hacked a couple of years ago. And I was shut out of Facebook and it was like a nightmare. Like I was running ads for like 20 campaigns and all of a sudden everything was dead. And like a contact helped me. But generally speaking, like there's no such thing as like once upon a time, Crystal Patterson like was hanging out in our communities and she was like our person and you could reach out to her and she was like the dem contact. Like that day is just gone. Like there are still a couple people, but they're few and far between. GPA help can be invaluable or a complete waste of time and a huge headache. But again, it's the best we got. So, bookmark it and try because, and then if that doesn't work, hit me up and I'll see if I know anything better. But like, that's what it is. So, I'm happy to answer any questions about anything related to digital. Like I do, that's my little tagline there. Let's win the internet. I focus on email, social, Facebook ads, all this free digital tools. Like I love content. So if anybody wants to talk about anything else, you got me for 13 more minutes, or else, go back and do your thing. Yeah, I have had that. I used to have a story in my one of my decks that I was on an email newsletter for a C4 org that I really liked, and they got hacked, and they were sending me like malicious email, which is terrible. But never really happens. People's emails get hacked, but like organizationals don't. And I tried reaching out to the org because I like the org, and I tried emailing them and they weren't like seeing it. So I went on social and I told them several times over the course of a few days, like, hey, I just want you to know your email has been hacked. You're sending me spam. And they didn't respond. And it's like, dude, like I will never forget that. But like it wasn't about me. It was about us. Like there's a community there and there's this opportunity to build relationships. The example I use when I'm not talking to politicos when it comes to like the doors is imagine that you're a celebrity and you're walking down the street. You do not have time to talk to every single person who recognizes you. But if somebody says hi and you ignore them, they're going to remember. And if somebody says hi and you give them a high five and keep walking, they're also going to remember. And they're going to tell their friends one of those two stories. Which do you want it to be? It costs literally nothing for you to go through. Like, I mean, time, but like very little time if you've got a good, way to approach it. System. That's the word I'm looking for. System. I've been talking a long time, y'all. If you've got a good system in place, it takes very little time to go through and like all the comments and then occasionally respond. I'm actually hosting somebody on my podcast this week who ran Mom Donamy's automated platform, like that brought in all these like tons of volunteers, and I'm super excited to talk to them. So like keep an eye out for that and Hello Merge Tag. But like most people don't have that. They're not setting up these complicated things. But like if you're a nonprofit and you want people to care about you and they ask you a question or talk to them. Like they're there. Talk to them. So Rachel asks about trolls. Yeah, it's a huge problem. The second you start spending with ads, like you're going to see trolls. It used to be really easy to exclude those people. It's gotten harder and harder. So there's going to be trolls. It's kind of up to you. My recommendation is hide liberally, delete cautiously. So for those who don't know, there's a huge difference between hiding and deleting a comment. When you hide a comment, they still see it if they go back to the post, and their friends still see it, meaning that a hidden comment could still get engagement on it. Whereas if it's deleted, they go back to find it, they see it's gone. People get real pissed if you delete their comments. If they're a racist or a sexist or like a jerk, like who cares? I mean, within reason, I'm not your lawyer, so like feel free to like talk to your lawyer about whether or not you can delete comments. But for hiding, like they don't even know. So like just I do it liberally if a comment's negative. But also sometimes there's an opportunity to like, you don't engage with the comment for the person who posted it, but also for the audience that might see it later. So if they say something ridiculous and you have a very good response, share your response because like other people can see it. That's kind of the best I got. John wants to know about Instagram specific. So I run 100%, I won't say 100%, but like 98% of my ads go to everywhere on Meta. So I'm not just running on Instagram or Facebook or like third-party apps. I'm running everywhere because I'm never going to outsmart Facebook. So at the ad set level, I mentioned that you get to determine where it goes. It's like to which audience. You also can determine which platform it goes to. You should absolutely, and you can create content that's like, when I run ads for some clients, especially with bigger budgets, we'll create different versions where it's like a square one for Facebook and a long one for stories and things like that. But honestly, you don't even have to do that. Facebook is very good at optimizing for you. I personally would say the content will do well somewhere. Facebook will figure out where. Keep putting content on it. Keep checking your analytics. Keep learning from it. And again, you can like learn what's working and see like, wow, we are blowing up on Instagram and we are only posting there twice a month. Maybe we should be posting there every day because our audience is there. Or you might be like, man, we are trying so hard on Instagram, but all of our ad budget's getting spent on Facebook. So just go there. And if you go to view charts on the ad set, or the campaign level, you can see a full breakdown of where your ad money went by platform, meaning Facebook, Instagram, and third-party platform. And they're now just starting to roll out threads. I actually haven't even seen that in any of my ads managers yet, but I imagine I will soon because it's rolling out now. So that's the new frontier of Meta as threads. But for me, there was a time where people were like trying to outsmart Facebook and be like, this is for Facebook and this is for Insta. Man, it's like the same people everywhere. We're talking to the same people. Facebook will figure out where it's going to perform best. And every minute you're spending trying to outsmart them is a minute you should just be creating more content. Like create another post, get it live, get it into the mix, and like push that out there and just keep it going. I will mention like RC DeMezzo, he's the head of Courier Newsroom's social strategy. That's like the winner of the internet, like for real. If anybody doesn't know Courier News, like log on to Instagram or TikTok for an hour and you'll see them. He told me they're fire hosing these days. Like there's literally no limit. I used to be like, you can't put, you can post a lot, but not too much. He's like, nope, no such thing. Now, granted, they're talking to a national audience with millions of potential followers. So if you're like running in like a small county, race and like with 10,000 people, that's different. But they're just fire hosing. He said, anytime there's a story, they don't even wait an hour. They just post it and they're seeing literally the best results on the internet, right? Like them and the Daily Mail are the two top performing news outlets on the internet. And they're doing it with a team of like 6 compared to the Daily Mail, who has like hundreds. So like, that's a long answer to your Instagram specific thoughts. And if you got more like granular questions, I'm happy to give answers. I spend a lot of time thinking and talking and dealing with Instagram. But at the end of the day, like don't overthink it. Anytime you can automate something in Facebook, automate it, because Facebook is smarter than us at all of this. And they are going to give you're going to get better results if you just trust them to do it. I got 8 more minutes and I will answer anything, personal, political, whatever, but also happy to call it. This was super fun, y'all. If anybody else has any other questions. I'll let Eric be the decider if we're done or not. Is there anything else in the chat? Oh, I didn't see these chats. Is there anything here? Cool. Yeah, those are all really good things. Nothing to answer. Cool, y'all. Okay, Eric, are you there? You want to pop in and say goodbye, or should I just log off? I don't know.
You can just log off. We're good. Thank you so much.
Everybody's still here. I don't know. Do people have questions? Like, ask me more questions. I love this stuff. No worries.
This is all good. Wait, does anyone have any questions about the conference coming up?
Who's going to be there? Share in the chat.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, over a dozen people watching right now and later. We are a really small staff. There's 4 of us who work on the convention full-time, 5 on the staff total, including Alana, who's here, who manages our training all year long. So if you email any of the email addresses associated with Netroots, you're going to get one of us, and we're going to be able to help you with something. Oh, John's got another question.
Yeah, I saw a question from Koran. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. So real quick, I'll answer his first. What are the advantages Advantage Plus? There are no I wouldn't say there's downsides to it. It's just a question of like, there are times where I want to run specific to like different communities. So I'm going to like want that control. And there are times where I want to go broad. More often than not, I'm going broad, Advantage Plus. I want everybody to see everything. And maybe I'm testing different audiences, but there are times like that example where we ran that ad only to people in a certain like zip code or only to people in a certain town about an ambulance. You don't want Advantage Plus then. You want to get more granular. So that's where I would like turn off Advantage Plus. But for the broad stuff where you're talking to the voter file and or like the wider community, I just run everything to everybody because like there's just a ton of people there and you just don't know. Are there any venues you don't allow for? Are you talking about within Meta, John? Because there's plenty of venues that don't allow political ads. Like TikTok doesn't allow them. LinkedIn is weird about them. But a lot of places do. But I'm just not sure if I understood the question. So if you want to clarify. But yeah, I mean, like with format, I would just test everything. Like I always would rather run a video, a photo, and a graphic, and a text only, instead of just one, because you just don't know what's going to work. Like it's so easy to be like, oh, this is awesome. It's going to do great. And it might not. And until you try, you don't really know. So I don't see a clarifier. So I'll assume I answered your question. I will be at Netroots doing the free digital tools training and also just hanging out. I also, for anybody who doesn't know, I run a Facebook group called Progressive Digital Professionals. There's 3,500 of us in there, and we answer each other's questions and support each other. And if anybody has not joined that, you should. There's 3,500 of us in there, and we're really nice people. I know Alana and a bunch of Sean is in there. So head on over there. Make sure you fill out the onboarding questionnaire because I filter out anybody who doesn't. But it's a great community, and I see some more questions. So I filibustered long enough to get more questions. John wants to know 20.
I think this is a clarification of what he was asking.
Yeah, I would just leave it as just trust Facebook. Like they're going to figure it out as long as it like fits. Make sure it fits within like whatever they're showing you. Like there are times where you have to go like they want to expand it, but you're losing half the text. Obviously, don't do that. But any place where it's not completely broken, I would leave it. Sloan asked best practices. Yeah, I run a lot of lead forms for nonprofits. It really depends. But to quote Anat Shankar-Osorio, sell the brownie, not the recipe. Do not ask people to follow you because you're so great. Ask them to follow you because they care about the mission. So it's not about what you do. It's about what they can do. Find a way to add a petition, let them thank a elected official. But at the end of the day, it's you are doing lead ads to collect something. You need to have something in return to give them, even if it's as simple as them feeling like they made a difference. And I say that with love, not no cynicism at all. Just taking that effort can help people. Remind them that they're in the fight. Lead gen tools are phenomenal. If y'all can give away a free resource, I have seen phenomenal results with that. So again, I don't know what your nonprofit does, but let's say you plant trees. And you're only looking for folks in the Kansas City area, do a resource, the 10 best parks to hang out, in Kansas City. And then, give that away in exchange for free. It's just a PDF, costs you, however long it took you to make it, but then it's free to give. Give that away for free in exchange for an email address. Those don't always perform better. I would test that against a petition and against the thank you, but those can do really well. I've tested a lot of those, and I'm working with one nonprofit right now where we have literally brought in over 100,000 names, and a ton of them came from some free resources like that. But even more have come from petitions. So you just never know. Keep testing. Yes, Ilana loves the Facebook group. Me too. The name of the group, I can't type in the chat, or I would. It's Progressive Digital Professionals. Very clever, right? So everybody should go to Facebook, search that in groups. You'll see it right away. It's a closed group. You have to apply to enter so we can have it's a safe space to have conversations. And there's a ton of great folks in there. Did I miss any other questions?
I think that's everything. Did my shirt get you to say Kansas City? Was that why?
That's so funny. I didn't notice that. My cousin's about to move to Kansas City, and so just clicked. But yeah, that's funny.
For those of you who haven't been to Netroots before, you've only been a couple of times, let me also push for the pub quiz on Friday night. Is Adam Bonin, who used to be the chairman of our board, puts on an amazing pub quiz, which is very granular and difficult, but fun because he mixes politics and pop culture. And we do teams up to 10, but if you're solo, we will find you some of your new best friends to join their team. Even the staff team is looking for additional folks this year. So consider doing the pub quiz on Friday night. You can go check it out in the agenda. If you all haven't yet and you're coming, download the app. The app is really good. All of this stuff is on the app. Start going in and favoriting your sessions. Make sure you get Josh's session in there with a star, so it'll send you a reminder when it's starting, because going to Netroots Nation's like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much stuff going on all the time, but I think you all have a great time.
See y'all there, or in Facebook, or in my email. Everybody hit me up at joshclemens.com anytime I'm around. I'm a resource, and I never get tired of talking about this stuff, y'all.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Thanks everyone. Y'all.